Though there is some consternation over some Harrys in England, this one will be the practical king of England if he can help his side break through finally after more than half a century. But Kasper Hjulmand and Denmark, they don't view themselves as the underdog. They think they're on a ride. They'll have about 8,000 fans among the 60,000 in Wembley Stadium today, hoping to, again, as they did in October, beat England on England's home soil. What a grand stage for this semifinal in Euro 2020, England and Denmark.
Not long ago, this day seemed unimaginable. One team was stricken by horror.
Christian Erickson in some distress, just about able to hear a pin drop.
Yet these inspired Great Danes would not be stopped.
Here's Dolbear, and that's a wonderful finish.
A tsunami of emotion transformed into a tidal wave of goals.
The Danish dream goes on.
The other side faced decades of doubt.
England's three lions slink sadly away.
Yet these determined three lions shed calamitous for calm.
And England can see that semi-final now.
And then roared to fresh heights. On this journey, both have already made history. But here's the thing about history.
A footballing fairy tale. Southgate, it's been saved!
It's a long time coming. So you better believe each is hungry for more.
One side is already through on penalty kicks yesterday in Wembley Stadium. Italy was able to outlast Spain, and they await the winner of the semifinal that we will see coming up just before 3 o'clock Eastern time. 2:30 listed as your start there. That is our continuing pre-match coverage. Once we're on ESPN, who will win and who will take on Italy? The celebration perhaps still continuing for the Azzurri after they were able to escape against Spain yesterday. Tied at 1 after regulation, extra time, and then went into penalty kicks and able to make it back to the final, a place where England has not been in a major tournament since 1966. Is this finally the year that is indeed coming home? Reese Davis with you, Tim Howard here as well as the great English star Steve McManaman. Hey, you know what? I think there's a little something to this England side right now. They're the betting favorite.
Yes.
I think they've got a great opportunity here, not only to advance today, but to win the whole thing.
Oh, they've got a huge opportunity. They are big favourites because of the individuals they have. The fact that they're at Wembley, there's going to be 60,000 fans in. You said there was an 8,000 contingent of Danish fans, so it's predominantly going to be England fans roaring them on. When you look on paper, no disrespect to Denmark, as you keep on saying, but England have got the better individuals. It's whether they can handle the mental side of the game, whether they can handle the pressure of getting to this first final since 1966. I think that's going to be the only obstacle. Yes, it should be a tight game, like most semi-finals are, but I think they've never had a better chance.
Yeah, and you talk about on paper, there is no disrespect. They have the better individuals. You've been a part of England teams who have often had great individuals on paper, and it just hasn't come together. When I look at this England squad, there's balance. There's a beauty in the way Southgate lines his team up with the 2 6s. Obviously, with Harry Kane being a really good leader, even though he wasn't amongst the goals, he now is. I just think all the clean sheets they've kept in this tournament, there seems to be a real good flow about this team. Not all the hype. We can hype them up as much as they want, but within the squad, they seem to have a really good flow, and that's important going into this game.
Yeah. You mentioned the clean sheets, 5 of them so far for England. Jordan Pickford, 696 minutes since he's conceded a goal. What was your longest run? Do you know off the top of your head?
I was double that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I bet he knows. He knows. He knows. He's going to pretend he doesn't know, but he knows.
It wasn't that long, but I tell you what, this is one of those things, Reese, where it's brilliant that they've done it. I also worry it's been so long since they've conceded. They don't know what that punch in the gut feels like. So They have to be a little bit
It actually
cagey with
doesn't
that,
matter
too.
if you concede as long as you win the game.
Sure,
But the more we talk about it, it's always nice for confidence-wise for the defensive partnership and certainly the goalkeeper, who has been criticised this year on various occasions.
Right, there's nothing you've been critical about, and the defense in front of him has kept him from seeing a whole lot of shots on goal as we join our compatriots over on the side, led by Sebastian Salazar. Sebastian?
All right, thanks, Reese. Yeah, Neda Manua, Sammy Khedira, Craig Burley with me here. So we've got men who have represented Scotland, England, and Germany at the international level. I'm sure there'll be some disagreement over the next hour or two.
About what?
Oh, I'm sure we'll get into it. You'll find something, you of all people.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm over the England playing too many games at home now.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we're 10 seconds into this.
I'm over that. I'm over that. But word has reached me that Denmark have travelled 3,000 more miles plus than England during this competition, so I've got another bone to bite on.
All right, so you're saying that if England weren't playing their matches at home, they wouldn't be in the semi-finals?
I'm not sure. I'm focused on England here at the moment.
Okay.
But I know. Look, back to what the guys were saying. You know, this is really England's game to take by the scruff of the neck. We've seen Denmark, we've seen the emotion, we've seen the performances, the response to the Christian Erickson situation. The performance against Belgium was excellent. If we're looking at two teams, similar standard, Belgium and England, albeit Belgium had some injuries. Denmark acquitted themselves very well in the loss. They didn't play particularly well, I thought, in the game against the Czech Republic, but got through. They're going to have to play Denmark that is a lot better to beat this England team.
So Denmark been one of the more free-flowing teams in the tournament. England very conservative. What kind of game do you think we could get today?
So it's a semi-final, and as we saw yesterday, for me it's a 50-50. As the guy said, for sure England has the better individuals, but for me football is a team sport. So, and Denmark showed up that they are really able to do it into the final. So for me it will be an amazing game, but at the end I also think that England will go through.
Look at that smile.
He's loving it. Look. You're sitting there. You're trying to look. I can tell it's really getting to you now.
No.
If England don't go through, it's going to be a long night.
I am at ease. I do not have long nights. Everything is going to be fine. I think it's, as Sammy said, it's actually quite tight between the two teams. You know, for Denmark themselves, they've played well throughout this tournament. Even though they've not had the results at the start, they have played well, and they've earned the right to be here. And to talk about mileage as well, by the way, this is Denmark's second game away from home, is it? Because they did play 3 at home.
Yep, first 3 games in Copenhagen.
But we won't get into that, Craig. We won't get into that.
So England has traveled 1,796 miles in this tournament. Denmark has traveled 5,107.
Yeah, I just said that about a minute and a half ago.
Just from the knockouts.
You're not listening.
No,
it's not
from the knockouts.
I just said they travelled over 3,000 miles more. You didn't have to contextualise it.
Per usual, Craig, you were not as precise as I like.
Well, I have to say, us Scots are used to this scenario. Sitting here watching England. And
You think they're traveling on covered wagons? I mean, they're luxury airliners. They're fine.
Yeah, Craig.
Even the Americans are against me today.
All right, let's get to our coverage map.
A man that had to travel across the US would be the first to go to HR and say, the travelling's killing me.
Fair enough. All right, so where
Have we got off-piste here?
Just a little bit, but I think we planned for that with you involved. So here's what we've got coming your way the rest of the day. Coverage starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time over on ESPN. Our pre-match build-up to England and Denmark. Match kicks off at 3 Eastern. And then right after the game, switch over to ESPN Plus. Over on ESPN FC, the boys will be breaking everything down. Euro tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, that on ESPN.
Now that I know we can shout across set even when our mics are faded down, this is going to be a bun fest.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be a real bun fest from here on in, trust me.
That and your strict respect for the rundown, I don't know how this is going to end up.
What's a rundown?
Well, next in the rundown is the Italy-Spain highlight, Craig, from yesterday.
Yep.
First team into the final, of course, the Italians, but in dramatic fashion. In fact, I think it's safe to say Spain had the better of this game, Craig, through the first hour, but it was on the 60th minute when Italy finally broke through, very much against the run of play.
Well, I don't think anybody expected Italy to dominate the possession. I think that was pretty much most people's idea of what was going to happen. And Italy were always going to be a danger on the break and not great defending, you have to say, and a brilliant goal from Chiesa.
This is a very good goal as well, though, I'll be honest with you. The 1-2 and the finish as well. It's just, this is what you want to see from him. And it was great to see him in that moment having that sort of reaction when so many people were so down on him.
That's what you want to see. Of course, the end of Alvaro Morata's story is really here, the missed penalty. Just emotionally, Sam, you feel for him.
Yeah, I know Alvaro quite well, and he's an amazing guy, and we spoke a lot about him. He criticized, and yeah, it's penalty shootout. It's a lottery, but with his goal, he make it possible that they had the chance to make it to the final. But anyway, this penalty from Jorginho, it's yeah, ridiculous. It's amazing, this guy. So at the end, I think that Italy deserved it. But by the way, Spain did an amazing match.
So that's now 33 matches unbeaten for this Italian team. Their last defeat coming in September of 2018. Craig, Italy get through, but just barely.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, they were always going to be out-dominated by Spain. They were pretty solid.
As much as they were, 66% possession in that first half for Spain. I mean, Italy almost had none of the ball. You didn't expect that.
Yeah, I expected 60-40 or thereabouts. I mean, Spain do that to teams, and Italy just, at times, have just said, OK, we'll keep a good shape. So, yeah, I was, again, impressed by Italy and their character. But I tell you what, to Sammy's point, Alvaro Morata has been battered during this competition. His family have had some abuse as well, apparently back in Spain. And to step up and take a penalty, even though you scored a goal in this game, to step up and take one, I thought took a great amount of courage, even though he missed. But he still put his head above the parapet and said, no, I'll take the responsibility.
Who was the real standout yesterday for you from Italy?
I think they played amazing as a team. So they suffered against Austria. They dominated Belgium. Yesterday, yeah, Spain was the better team, but they dominated the whole tournament. So I cannot say that Chiesa maybe he made the difference, but how they played as a team that impressed me the most.
Yeah, I would agree with Sammy there as well, because as a collective, you know, you've got players in there who are used to having long times on the ball, like Jorginho, Verratti, people who want to get on the ball and move it around, but defensively they were very solid. I think for Spain there were one or two opportunities which maybe if they had a better first touch or something, they could have capitalised on, but they needed to stay in the game, and the collective from the Italians was ultimately what made the difference.
Emerson, 89 minutes of football this season.
Premier League football, yeah.
89 minutes of Premier League football. And go and play a semi-final of Euro 2021 under that amount of pressure with so little game time. That's pretty decent.
But this shows up how strong Italy is, because even as an individual, you can show it up if you have a strong team, and Italy has this.
Yeah. Roberto Mancini has not been shy about rotating that squad. Obviously, very useful there in the semi-final. For more on yesterday's semi-final, let's send it back across the studio. Reese?
All right, Sebastian. So what did you make of Italy's performance yesterday, and what impact it might have in the final?
I don't think it'll have an impact in the final. I think, you know, listening to the boys, they were not at their best like we've seen. They've been very impressive throughout the tournament. Sometimes you just have to grind a result out. You can't be magnificent and dominate every team that you come across. Sometimes you do come across a patch where you're starting to struggle, and that's where they can just revert back, rely on the goalkeeper, who I thought had a great tournament, and the two centre defenders who've been excellent and were excellent yesterday. I think Spain just missed out on that, unfortunately, that clinical cutting edge. It wasn't Moreno, it wasn't Oyarzábal, it wasn't Olmo, it hasn't been Morata to a certain extent. They just missed out on someone to put the ball in the back of the net at those key times.
Yeah, I don't think it'll have any effect on the final. These are one-off games. You have to figure out a way to survive. And I am in the camp that Spain's always going to dominate any game they play in with the ball. And so, look, I don't think it was Italy's best game, but those are the moments that win you championships, when you can win games when you're not at your best, and they showed that. So they'll be delighted that they're in the final and think they can win.
Grind one out against Spain. They await the winner of England and Denmark, and because of the looser nature of the digital platforms, we're able to aggravate our producer and shout across the set at our friend Craig about home field advantage, home pitch advantage, which England will enjoy against Denmark today. The impact of that, we now join Kelly Cates and Taylor Twellman.
Yeah, Reece, they will enjoy the home field advantage. It is going to be fantastic. And as you can see, this is what that support looks like as they make their way into Wembley Stadium. It was fun here last night, it has to be said, for Italy against Spain. But this is going to be something else. Taylor, can this, though, be a double-edged sword for England?
I think it can, Kelly. I really do, because when you and I were in Bristol, Connecticut, everyone in England was all over Southgate, all over Harry Kane, all over the entire national team. And yet, over the last 72 hours, what I've watched on television is 180 degrees different. And yet, everyone's expecting them to beat Denmark. And I'm not saying they're looking past Denmark, but they are to a certain extent, especially everyone that's been here drinking since 8 o'clock this morning. And so, Kelly, what I look at, every time England's played in Wembley with pressure on them, they've tightened up. And so if they don't score in the first 15, 20 minutes here, does all of a sudden that anxiety build in the building? That's where I think this could be a double-edged sword.
And the other thing that's in the English psyche, of course, is that they love an underdog.
Yes,
and normally, all the support would be behind Denmark if they weren't playing England because of all the emotions surrounding them across this tournament. How can that work for and against them, do you think?
I think what's going to be interesting for Denmark is they've kind of already answered that by leaving Copenhagen and getting results. And I think Kasper Hjulmand's done a fantastic job of reminding them they still have got a job at hand. However, I feel like they're going to come into this building, look at the 50,000 plus English fans and look at it and say, you know what, we're kind of playing with house money. Nobody in this building expects us to win. Nobody expected us after losing our first 2 games to get out of the group, let alone into the semifinal. And so they almost feel like destiny's on their side a little bit. And I just wonder, Kelly, can they sustain that for 45 minutes? I think if they can get into halftime with the result in their favor, then I think they've got a legitimate shot to do this. If they give up a goal in the first 15, 20 minutes, I think it could be a long, long day.
I mean, as much as this game is about managing the emotion, managing the occasion, once they cross that white line and they're on the pitch, it's going to come down to 11 men against 11. So how do you think that matchup is going to work?
Denmark has surprised me a little bit of how well they've kind of made up for the Christian Erickson injury, heart attack, however you want to phrase it. And so when you look at what Damsgaard has done, he's been a fantastic player, a player that has surprised a lot of people. Get him on the ball, try to get the 2 sixes from England chasing the game a little bit, but England hasn't given up a goal. And so there's a real, and I think Tim Howard hit the nail on the head, a real good understanding and balance within this English squad that when one player's in trouble, the other provides that cover and balance. I think the bigger issue for England, and more likely Denmark, is can you stop Harry Kane? The moment the goal hit the back of the net, then he scores 2 against Ukraine. Now he's got no weight on his shoulders. I think Harry Kane could have himself a big, big day.
Yeah, he does that whenever he's had a small drought, even at least. He's gone on to score loads of goals as soon as that one has been broken. But what we can see behind us is just a taste of what we're going to see from the England fans inside the stadium later, Reece.
It's all Kelly's cousins downstairs.
My cousins are Scottish.
This is how England has advanced to this stage, reaching the semifinals again. As has been well documented, they have not advanced past this since the 1966 World Cup. They are hoping that this is the day that they will take the next step. Only that last quarterfinal game coming away from London when it was played in Rome. Denmark played all of its group stages games on home soil and did not get the results. Of course, the well-documented situation with Christian Erickson obviously had a huge impact on the first couple, but they were able to advance and make it on. Now, we saw all of Kelly's friends and cousins, and the British Beer and Pub Association estimates that about 7 million pints will be ordered as they get ready. Will they be celebratory or otherwise? At the moment, Sam Borden tells us that it feels quite celebratory in London as we await the 3 Lions in Denmark.
London is electric. Wembley Way is packed. Everyone in this city, in this country really, fired up for what people are calling the biggest day in sports in England since the World Cup final in 1966. As many as 60,000 fans expected at Wembley, and you can bet it will not be the same kind of split we saw for Italy and Spain yesterday. Danish football officials have said they're only expecting about 7,000 or 8,000 UK-based fans to be able to get into the game. Now, like any American, I love a British royal family update, so I'm happy to report that Prince William is expected to be here tonight. Kate will not, however. She's isolating after a potential COVID exposure. Prince William won't be the only royal, though. Prince Frederick, heir to Denmark's throne, he's brought his family over, and they will be in the stands as well.
So he told you about Prince William. Now here's the part where I mentioned Harry. Both of them, Kane and Maguire in the starting lineup, on their way to being kings if they can only win 2 more games. This is the starting lineup, and the only change being made here for England as Saka is back in after Jadon Sancho really gave them a lift in the last game, but he's out and Saka's back.
Yeah, I think we all know England were going to sit up with that, with Pickford in the back 6. It was just whether Saka would come in for Sancho or whether Grealish, but Saka's in. He's played well in an England side, so no big surprises.
Let's have a look at starting lineup for Denmark, as well as Kasper Hjulmand Kasper Hjulmand has sent these guys out. Kasper Schmeichel, the goalkeeper, had the great line about the coming home song. He said, has it ever been home? It will be up to him to see that it doesn't this time around.
Well, Hjulmand, this is his strongest lineup, isn't it? You know, an experienced back line. Kjær, Vestergaard, Schmeichel, Christensen. In the middle of midfield, Højbjerg and Delaney, they're the heart and soul of this midfield, and they're going to have to do work. Look, up front, very, very talented. This is a team that when they attack, they are better. They're not built to sit in. They don't do great sitting in. So we talk about chess match and we talk about matchups. This is going to be very interesting because I do believe they will have to sit in at times against England.
Yeah, we've talked about all of the clean sheets that England has put together. Only Spain has had more shots on target than Denmark in this tournament so far. No real surprise, you said, in the England lineup. How do you expect them to play in terms of tactics and strategy and dealing with Denmark's pressing style?
Well, I think initially they'll play it very safe. I don't expect them to be too adventurous at the start of the game. I think because of the pressure on them, because it's virtually a home tie, of course, and because of the occasion, I can't see them taking many chances. I hope they play the ball forward quicker than they have done at Wembley. I thought they were better in the second half against Ukraine. I thought people ran forward, which made them attack more, which made them more adventurous. And I'd like them to start the game like that. I don't want them to be passing around the back and passing it behind players because it sets a bad tempo to the game. So I'll be looking to see how they start in terms of pace and how they move the ball.
Mac, you've been banging on that drum about how slowly they have been at times in possession. And when teams, naturally, England's one of the best teams in the tournament, they're going to sit back against England. I think Stones and Maguire have to take the opportunity to drive into midfield in order to break lines because they have the double six. So once one of the centre backs goes in, one of the double sixes, either Phillips or Rice, just drops in.
And they're more than good enough to do that.
And they're safe. And they're safe. And look, John Stones and Maguire on the ball, passing in between lines, that can help them.
And so for more on how England might approach this match against Denmark, let's go to the touch screen now where Nadim and Chris are there.
So, Chris, one thing about England in this tournament, they've not really been pulling up trees in terms of their attack, but they've been very hard to beat.
Correct.
And then in recent games, they start to score a few more goals. And I think as we'll see from some of these clips, I think the two things are linked.
Yeah.
If we just see this here now, they move the ball around, and then there's going to be a second where I'll pause it, and you'll see exactly what I mean. And it's at this point here when Sterling starts to take it on, they see the structure. They like to have three defenders at the back, and it tends to be Walker on that right-hand side.
Correct. And what Gareth doesn't mess about with is his two holding midfield players. They've been the two constants in this tournament. He's changed the defenders, he's changed the personnel, he's changed the shape. He's never changed the two holding midfield players, Nathan.
And that is him being conservative. But what it does allow is for somebody like Luke Shaw to be able to bomb forward.
Correct.
And as a consequence, that's where England have most of their attacks and have scored most of their goals in this tournament. I think even as we see here, as soon as the ball gets played out wide to Rice, Luke Shaw is immediately on his bike, and that's Mount driving with the ball. This isn't something that you'll see a lot on the right-hand side, but as I said with England, this is where most of their chances and goals have come from. And as the ball goes out here to Sterling, Shaw's on the overlap, and you have to ask yourself, you know, this is a great ball, but you ask yourself the question, how many times have you seen that down the right-hand side?
It's always down the left, you're right.
Exactly.
But the balance is good because Walker tucks around, he's that security blanket with the two holding midfield players. England attack with 5 and they defend with 5.
And that is ultimately why, even for Southgate, when people say he needs to be more attacking, he's still very, very defensive because he makes sure that people behind the ball to stop the counter-attack.
Right.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. As you take a look at the chances created and open play by England early on, we talked about the limited number of shots they had gotten. They certainly rectified that in the last match against Ukraine when they were explosive, Sebastian.
That's right, just the one change for England. Saka in, Sancho out. You like it, Nadim?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Are you surprised by it? I mean, why change after you're coming off your best performance?
Yeah, it is a strange one for me, but Southgate has a lot of faith in Saka, so to put him back in, he knows something, he knows how he's going to affect this game. Maybe he wants somebody who's going to really be more direct in terms of how you attack that side. So I think it's a positive overall, but, you know, you don't necessarily want to change your winning side, but, you know, he's got a plan in mind.
What do you make of the change?
So we are not the coach of England, so it's easy to speak. But me personally, I'm a big fan of Sancho. And he showed up in Dortmund in the Champions League, big matches, that he has the possibility to decide the game. So that's why I'm personally a fan of Sancho. I'm surprised that Saka's in, but yeah, this is his decision, what he did the whole tournament, and we have to trust in him.
But Southgate likes certain players, doesn't he? I mean, if you'd have said at the start of the tournament, as we look at Kasper Schmeichel, you'd have said at the start of the tournament that Raheem Sterling was going to be one of the key men and Phil Foden was going to be out the team. That's a complete role reversal to where the second half of the Premier League season went. So I'm not surprised because Southgate prefers certain players. He didn't fancy Jadon Sancho until Saka picked up a knock. But going back to your point, looking at it from an impartial point of view, is I really like this England side and have done for a while. Now, my doubts coming into the tournament were the injury to Maguire, the injury to Henderson, the form of Sterling. And that's why I felt it could be a problem for them. But so far, they've overcome those issues. Sterling's been playing well, particularly when Harry Kane's been dropping into wider or deeper positions. Sterling gets through that middle as a second striker. The two guys in the middle of the park that the boys talked about, the holding midfielders, have given the back line good protection. Hence, one of the reasons they've kept clean sheets all the way through so far. And going forward, if he has to change a game, he's got as good a squad as anybody in this tournament if he has to go to his bench. So for all those reasons, I really like England's chances.
Yeah, they haven't trailed yet in the tournament, but if it does come down to that, Sancho, Grealish, Foden, all options off the bench, you love that if you're an English fan. All right, let's take a look at this Danish 11. Just one change for England. No changes for Denmark. Can't be surprised in that under Kasper Hjulmand as his squad has advanced to the semifinals of this tournament. Nathan, from an English perspective, you look at this 11, what worries you the most?
I think it's tough to say. I think if you look at all the games that they've played throughout the tournament, you can see that they're a good side. But now there's that added motivation because some of these players do play in England. I look at, say, Kasper Schmeichel, who's a friend of mine. The last time he was at Wembley, he was winning the FA Cup with Leicester City. So he comes there with a good feeling.
Huge saves in that game too,
huge
right?
saves. Yeah, he was incredible that day. And, these guys are going to be so motivated. And I think for England, they understand, I think as is the case, that you're probably going to look at them and say, to a man, you're probably better players. But if you don't match the sort of effort and desire that they're going to put forward and the chemistry that they have, you'll lose this game. So for the Danes, looking at the Danes, I think it's that can get them through because they are a good side.
No friends in this game, Nedum. Just ships passing in the night.
No, he's a friend. He's a friend. I'll have to say it. He's a friend.
Go on, give it the line. I've not got any friends.
No. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'll send it over to our friends across the studio, Reese.
All right, gentlemen, as we get set for this semifinal between England and Denmark. Goalkeeper for Denmark is Kasper Schmeichel. He is well aware of the coming home song. And, as I think about it, there's so many jokes, so many sneers, so many oh-so-nears, but football's coming home. Or is it, Kasper?
Particularly aware of the phrase, it's coming home. Now, what would it mean to you guys to stop it coming home tomorrow night?
Has it ever been home? I don't know. Have you ever won it?
1966 it was home.
Well, was that not the World Cup?
I think we know what the answer to that question is. The two keepers have been outstanding. Pickford has been phenomenal. We've talked about nearly 700 minutes without conceding a goal. Schmeichel, too, has been strong, particularly of late with the one shutout. And, of course, Schmeichel comes from great lineage, great stock. And, I know Tim, being American, is familiar with this. Macca, do you have bulletin board material in England? Are you familiar with that phrase?
No, mate, no. What's that?
Okay, bulletin board material is when someone on the opposing team or the opposing side says something much like Kasper Schmeichel just said, and it riles up the other side. Is that a thing?
Yeah, we've had it certainly with Jordan Pickford because he played for Everton, of course, and the other team, who Timmy used to play for, and the other team within the city is Liverpool, and he injured Virgil van Dijk, so he upset many hundreds of thousands of Liverpool fans, so he was not in the good books at all. But he's responded really well. He has been criticised on numerous occasions this year in an Everton shirt. But for England, he has been exceptional, and he's been Gareth Southgate's go-to man.
What do you think, as a goalkeeper, what do you think of the way Schmeichel's played?
Well, look, he has a ton of experience. He's not rattled by the situation. You can see there by his comments. He obviously, he enjoyed, rattling them a little bit. So he makes big saves in big moments, and that's what you want from your goalkeeper.
Well, we mentioned the lineage, and it's certainly in the blood. And this is far less controversial. This is just cute, right? How cool is this? Now, that's young Casper, and that's with his dad.
Apart from the tie that Peter's wearing, everything else is cute about it. But
yeah, what is happening with that tie there? That's,
But he was an incredible goalkeeper. Different size, but he was an incredible goalkeeper, Peter Schmeichel.
Well, the last time Denmark was at this stage was in 1992, and Peter Schmeichel was the goalkeeper.
Yes, he was, yes. So as you said, it's in the blood, it's in the lineage. He's taken after his father, and if he can win this trophy, it'd be, along with everything else that Denmark has stood for in this tournament, it would be some story. Really would be.
It would be. It's going to be a great semi-final coming up just about 3 o'clock Eastern time. We'll have our pregame show starting at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN as we get you set for that. And the gentleman who will be calling the match today, Darke and Stewart Robson, our pitch side, or at least in the broadcast booth. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi there, Reese. It's going to be a wild atmosphere here because people in England are talking about nothing else really all day. You can't have a conversation about anything about who's going to win the match tonight. We've been handed the team sheets. Normally, of course, these things are a state secret, aren't they? What's the team going to be? Most people seem to know that Bukayo Saka was going to come in place of Jadon Sancho this morning.
Yeah, and I think his 2 performances for England out on the right-hand side, I think he played well, particularly in the first one against the Czech Republic. Didn't play quite so well against Germany. I was surprised that I don't think he was left out against the Ukraine. I think he had a slight knock. But once Sancho played well, I'm actually surprised he's brought Saka back in.
Yeah. What's the thinking, do you think?
I think over the games I think Saka is the best player at receiving the ball with his back to goal and start turning and running at defenders. That's what he did really well against the Czech Republic. That's what he did quite well against Gosens, and then he started running at Rudiger. So that's why he's been brought in. He's better with his back to goal and turning and running at people than probably Sancho is.
I think England are definitely in the mood. You saw that against Ukraine. They're on a mission. First final since 1966 and all that. But some people are getting a bit carried away. This is a tough game.
Well, you've been getting carried away.
Well, everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody is. One of the newspapers this morning is England v Italy in the final. They've just got to pin that up on the locker room door, haven't they, Denmark?
Absolutely. And I think Denmark have played well in the last 2 or 3 games. I think they've got a strong defence. They changed from a back 4 in the first game to a back 3, but those 3 have played really well. Simon Kjær has been one of the defenders of the tournament. He's been absolutely magnificent for Milan last season. He's been magnificent in this tournament. And they've got a little bit of quality up front. So that's going to be difficult for England.
And Kasper Schmeichel played the game of his life when Leicester won the FA Cup here. 2 absolutely, out of this world saves. But Harry Kane has scored 14 goals past him in his career.
Yeah, that's when Tottenham, I think, murdered Leicester on a couple of occasions. And that's going to be a good battle. Harry Kane, somewhere near back to his best in the last couple of games. If he plays at his very best, he's hard to stop, as he mentioned in the papers here.
Well, if it's anything like as good as the semi-final we had here last night, we're in for a treat. Back to you, Reese.
That much is certainly true. And it would be unwise, I think, to take this for granted, although the English fans can be excused for the excitement right now. After all, Denmark is the last team to defeat England in Wembley Stadium. As we mentioned earlier, they did it back in October in a UEFA Nations League group stage game in Copenhagen. They are certainly full of optimism, and why not? Not only have they provided some thrills along the way, but the emotional journey that they've been on after the situation with Christian Erickson has provided great inspiration to the team and the fans.
On this opening Saturday, Denmark and Finland find themselves on a collision course. Christian Erickson, usually a key figure for Denmark, and it has completely dampened the party mood. Just about able to hear a pin drop.
The worst was feared for quite some time. Thankfully, Erickson in the hospital and has been stabilized.
It is hard to imagine a venue across the globe today more enveloped by emotion. An occasion that will live long in the memory. Denmark handled it, but ultimately couldn't handle Belgium. A sea of red and white. It's Denmark who are looking to complete a fairy tale. Dan scored! He scored! A moment of Erickson-like genius.
Kommer vi frem, og så kommer Andreas Christensen igen. Ja!
Denmark are doing this in style. Pandemonium in the Parken.
this is special, and to see that football can unite a country the way that it has these last few days, that's the reason I play, and I think that's the reason why many of us play.
Did Denmark have it within themselves to script another chapter of their unfolding fairy tale? Here's Dolberg, and that's a wonderful finish.
Her Dolberg, Kasper Dolberg! Så er der dobbelt Dolberg til Danmark, 2-0.
Brushed Wales aside, Baku and the quarter-final, here they come.
A long way from home, but a semi-final place is tantalisingly near. It's the perfect start for Denmark. The Danish summer of love continues.
Og her kommer Mæle ind i strafsparkfeltet. Yderside aflevering, det er fremragende. Der er kassen! Kasper Dolberg!
The Danish dream goes on. Denmark are through to the last four.
And there is Christian Erickson after the medical procedure that he had, posing with a fan. UEFA's invited him to the final. We've not yet received word as to whether he will accept that invitation or will continue his recuperation at home. It has been a remarkable story. Even many of the English players, including Harry Kane, who's close with him, Sebi, unconditional in their support of this, despite the fact that it'll be head-to-head battle for England and Denmark today.
At 38 minutes to kick off. England, of course, the clear favorites at home. Sammy, what's the key for Denmark if they're going to pull the upset?
I think there are many reasons today, and I saw the lineup, and I would be not surprised if maybe they change again to a 4-3-3 to control maybe Mason Mount and to put Christensen as a number 6. So it will be interesting to see, but they have to play forward. They have to bring them in trouble because England has a really good defending line, but as we can see against Germany, they put it under pressure and they have two big opportunities. So that will be maybe the key to control the midfield and to fast counterattacks.
Let's talk pressure. Kasper Yeoman, the Danish manager, said all the pressure in this match is on England. What's the impact of that on the game, Craig?
I mean, I don't know if that's the case or not, but if it is a back three for Denmark, they're going to have to be able to contain the movement of England when Kane drops into holes, when Sterling goes through the middle. If England can pull that back three around, I think England can have some joy and win this game.
Natum, for all the joy they've had in this tournament, if England go out now, and you'll know this, having played 10 years in the Premier League, will this be considered a failure for this team?
They'll be disappointed. They'll be very, very disappointed because it's a great opportunity. As Craig said, they've basically played the whole tournament at home, and they're a good side. And so for me, as they go into this game here, I think if they're clinical and they limit the amount of mistakes that they make, you'll probably see them in the final. And that's going to be, what they have to do to get through this game.
Craig, failure if they don't win?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because they are in a very, very strong position, a position they might never be in again in a major tournament like this, with a strong team. At Wembley with fans there. I fully expect, hit me on the back, I'm going to say England again.
Oh, it hurt him. It cost him. All right, Reese, as Craig recovers, I'll send it back over to you.
And Harry Kane said almost exactly what Craig was saying to his teammates. Tim, what are your expectations of the match?
Well, I think it's going to be a tight match. In the end, England are the better side, and I think they'll look. Can they keep a clean sheet again? I don't think so. But I do think there's goals in this England team for them to walk away winners.
I'm exactly the same. I'm not overly confident. I think it'll be difficult because I think the whole occasion and the way the fans will be and everybody, the expectation on the English side. But when I look at them individually, when I look at them, set pieces and see how strong they are, I can only see an England victory, albeit a tight one.
It's coming up at the top of the hour to be on ESPN. This is what you have in store for you as we wrap up here on digital, pre-match on ESPN at 2:30 Eastern Time. That's just moments away. England, Denmark, and then all the post-match coverage on ESPN FC, on ESPN Plus, and also on Euro Tonight, which will be on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So by my clock, we're about 5 minutes and change away from starting our pre-match show over on ESPN. Hope you will join us in as we take you right up to the kick between England and Denmark. See if it's coming home.